Good day and welcome back to Scriptures Unlocked. We are now on to Genesis chapter 46. In the previous presentation, we ended with Joseph's brothers returning to the land of Canaan to tell their father the good news that Joseph is alive and that he was the governor of Egypt. So this presentation, we'll now pick up with Jacob moving to Egypt. So this presentation is entitled Jacob Moves to Egypt. So in the previous presentation, we ended with Jacob eager to go to Egypt to see his beloved son Joseph after being told he was alive. So let's now do a quick recap. Genesis 45 verse 27 to 28 tells us this. And they, meaning Joseph's brothers, told him, Jacob, all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob their father revived. And Israel said, It is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die. Which now takes us to Genesis 46, verse 1. And Israel, who is Jacob, took his journey with all that he had and came to Beersheba and offered sacrifices unto the God of his father Isaac. So even though Jacob was eager to go and see his son Joseph, he was very anxious and very fearful to go down to Egypt because of the prophecy of Genesis 15. What am I talking about? Jacob knew about the prophecy of what would happen to his descendants, and this was revealed by God to his grandfather Abraham, which was told to his father Isaac, and then passed on to him as the recipient of the birthright. This is what God prophesied to Abraham all the way back in Genesis 15, verse 13 to 16. God said unto Abraham, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age, but in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. So this was a prophecy that occupied Jacob's mind at this time. So this prophecy was clearly on his mind, and this was why he stopped at Beersheba to seek God's face, since Beersheba was a special place as well as the former home of both Abraham, his grandfather, and Isaac, his father, where they both built altars and called upon the name of Jehovah. Here are some verses to substantiate those points. Genesis 21 verse 33 tells us this. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba and called there on the name of Jehovah, the everlasting God. Genesis 22 verse 19. So Abraham returned unto his young men. This is after he was tested when he was told by God to offer up his son Isaac. And they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And Beersheba means well of the sevenfold oath. And Genesis 26 verse 23 tells us that he, Isaac, went up from thence to Beersheba. And Jehovah appeared unto him, Isaac, the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of Jehovah, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. So Isaac, like his father Abraham, lived at Beersheba at one point in their lives. And it was here that they also called upon the name of Jehovah. So all three patriarchs called upon the name of Jehovah at Beersheba. And since Jacob was fearful at the thought of going to Egypt based on the prophecy that was revealed to him, God intervened and calmed his troubled mind. Notice now what Genesis 46 verse 2 to 4 tells us. And God spake unto Israel in the visions of the night, and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation. And I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again. And Joseph shall put his hand upon thine eyes. So viewers, God reassured Jacob that not only would he go down with them into Egypt, but he will also bring them back to the land of Canaan. However, during the intervening time, God would make Jacob's descendants into a great nation, and as he promised Abraham, he would give them the land of Canaan as their homeland, a land that they would possess. God also told Jacob that his beloved son Joseph would show him the filial affection of closing his eyes upon his death in Egypt. And in the ancient Near East, this was a final act of respect, which was often performed by the closest family member. And God told him that his beloved son Joseph would close his eyes in Egypt. Genesis 46 verse 5 onwards tells us this. And Jacob rose up after God spoke to him in the night from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father and their little ones and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods which they had gotten in the land of Canaan and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him, his sons and his sons' sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed brought he with him into Egypt. And then scripture outlines all the names of the persons who came with Jacob into the land of Egypt. And these are the names of the children of Israel, children of Jacob, which came into Egypt. Jacob and his sons, Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and the sons of Reuben. Reuben had 4 sons, Hanok, Phalu, Hezron, and Carmi. And the sons of Simeon, Jemuel, Yamin, and Ohad, Yakin, Zohar, Shaul, the son of a Canaanitish woman. And the sons of Levi. Levi had 3 sons, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. And here you can see Jacob and all his household making their trek from the land of Canaan to the land of Egypt. And the sons of Judah, Shelah and Pharez and Zerah. But and Onan died in the land of Canaan. And the sons of Pharez, through whom the messianic line would continue, were Hezron and Hamul. The sons of Issachar. Issachar had 4 sons, Tola, Phuva, Job, and Shimron. And the sons of Zebulun, he had 3 sons, Sered, Elon, and Jalehel. These are the sons of Leah, which he bare unto Jacob in Padan Aram, with his daughter Dinah, all the souls of his sons and his daughters that he had with Leah were 33. So 33 descendants from Leah's children. And the sons of Gad, Ziphion, and Hagi, and Shuni, and Esbon, Eri, and Arodi, and Areli. And the sons of Asher, Yimnah, Ishua, Isui, Beriah, Sarah, their sister, and the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malkiel. These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter. And these she bare unto Jacob, even 16 souls. So far, from Leah and Zilpah's descendants, we have 33 plus 16, that's 49 descendants so far. The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Asenath, the daughter of Potipharah, priest of On, bare unto him. And the sons of Benjamin were Bela and Becher, and Ashbel, and Gerah, and Nahaman, Ehi, Rosh, Mupim, and Hupim, and Ard. These are the sons of Rachel, which were born to Jacob. All the souls were 14. So 49 plus 14, that's 63 souls so far from the house of Jacob. And the sons of Dan. Dan had 1 son, Ushim. And the sons of Naphtali, Jaziel, and Guni, and Jezer, and Shilem. These are the sons of Bilhah, which Laban gave unto Rachel his daughter, and she bare these unto Jacob. All the souls were 7. So 63 plus 7 gives us a total of 70 individuals from the house of Jacob that came into the land of Egypt. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, all the souls were 66, that's 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. Therefore, all the souls of the house of Jacob which came into Egypt were 70. That's a total of 70, and I just did the math. Viewers, the scripture outlines the total number of Jacob's descendants that came to Egypt as 66, whereas the total number from the house of Jacob that were now in Egypt were 70 souls, because this number now included Jacob himself. You had 66 descendants. Jacob would make 67, Joseph would make 68, and Joseph's 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, would make 70. And notice what Jacob did when he came into the land of Egypt. Genesis 46 verse 28 tells us this, that he sent Judah before him unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen, and they came into the land of Goshen. Goshen, viewers, occurs 15 times in the Hebrew scriptures. It is Strong's H 1657. Goshen means drawing near. It's a region in northern Egypt, east of the Lower Nile, where the children of Israel lived from the time of Joseph to the time of Moses, when they made their exodus from the land of Egypt. Goshen became the residence of the Israelites in Egypt. Here is a picture of Canaan and Egypt. So Jacob lived here in Hebron, and because he got the news that Joseph was alive, he made a trek from Hebron all the way. He made a stop here at Beersheba, and then he made his trek all the way to the land of Egypt, and they stopped at Goshen. Goshen, as you can see on the map here, was the most fertile area in the land of Egypt. Because as I mentioned previously, Egypt, as you can see here, this is the Nile River, to the west of the River Nile was desert, and to the east of the River Nile was also desert and mountain. So all the population of Egypt resided on the west bank and the east bank of the River Nile, and the River Nile was what gave them their sustenance. Viewers, the land of Goshen was the most fertile region in the eastern Nile Delta of Lower Egypt that was suitable for raising crops and grazing livestock, since it was usually well watered by the Nile. Notice Genesis 46 verse 29 to 31. And Joseph made ready his chariot and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him. And he fell on his neck and wept on his neck a good while. So he spent quite a long time hugging and crying with his father, whom he had not seen for 22 years, when he was the age of 17, and he was now 39 years old. And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive. And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, My brethren and my father's house, which are in the land of Canaan, are come unto me. And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks and their herds, and all that they have. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you, and shall say, What is your occupation? That ye shall say, Thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth even until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians. So viewers, Joseph is seen here as a type of Christ, in the sense that he went ahead of them to Pharaoh, as we will see in the next presentation, in order to prepare a place for his family, which was the land of Goshen, just as how Jesus has gone ahead of us to prepare a place for us in heaven. Joseph also became his father's advocate and his entire household before the king, just as how Jesus Christ is our advocate with the Father, who is the King of the universe. So here, Joseph represented Jesus Christ. He was a type of Christ. Here on screen, you can see Jacob and Joseph hugging and talking after seeing each other for the very first time in 22 years. Viewers, Joseph was very strategic as he coached his family on what to say to Pharaoh regarding their occupation, in order to secure Goshen as their place of residence in Egypt. And he did this for 2 main reasons. 1, Goshen was a prime area for their livestock. And two, and most importantly, his family would be segregated from the polytheistic and idolatrous Egyptian society, so they would be free to worship the one true God, Jehovah. Viewers, Genesis 46 ends with this quote: "Every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians." And this stemmed from the fact that shepherds killed animals used by the Egyptians to represent their gods. Animals like bulls and rams, which were used by the Hebrews to offer sacrifices to Jehovah, were considered by the Egyptians to be sacred and the incarnations of different deities that they worshipped. Therefore, they express this by representing these gods in human form with the heads of these animals. Here are a few Egyptian gods represented by animals in the pantheon of Egyptian gods. You have Anubis with the head of a jackal. Anubis was the god of mummification and the god of the dead, according to the Egyptian religion, and the afterlife, associated with the scavenger animal often seen in cemeteries. Horus was represented by a falcon. He was the god of the sky, kingship, and protection, often depicted as a falcon-headed man. Here on screen, you can see Anubis here with the head of a jackal, Horus here with the head of a falcon, and Bastet with the head of a cat. So these are how the Egyptians represented their gods in human form with the heads of these animals. Bastet had the head of a cat. She was a goddess that symbolized protection, fertility, and the home. Hathor was represented by the cow, and Hathor was the goddess that symbolized motherhood, joy, and fertility. You also had Sobek with the head of a crocodile, representing the Nile's power, fertility, and strength. You also had Sekhmet with the head of a lioness, embodied destructive power, war, and healing. And finally, the other god that I'm presenting here is Khnum with the head of a ram. The Egyptians' creator god, often depicted as a ram-headed man with horizontal horns, also known as the divine potter. So this is an image of the Egyptian goddess Hathor, depicted as a cow with a sun disk headdress. And here on screen, you are seeing the three Egyptian gods that I mentioned earlier. Sobek with the head of a crocodile, which lived in the Nile. Sekhmet with the head of a lioness, and Khnum with the head of a ram, with his wavy horns. Viewers, Jacob and his descendants offered bulls and rams as sacrifice to Jehovah, the only true God. Therefore, this was seen as an abomination to the Egyptians, which clearly was still the case centuries later, as can be seen below by what Moses told Pharaoh when they were about to make their exodus from Egypt when God sent the plagues. Notice what happened in Exodus 8, verse 25 to 26, which proves the point that every shepherd was an abomination to the Egyptians, had to do with the sacrifice that they made to Jehovah, which involved the killing of sacred animals. And Pharaoh said unto Moses and to Aaron, and said, "Go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land." And Moses said, "It is not meet so to do, for we shall sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians to Jehovah our God. Lo, shall we sacrifice the abomination of the Egyptians before their eyes? And will they not stone us?" So in other words, Moses was saying, if you were to offer the sacrifice of bulls and rams in the presence of the Egyptians, who considered these animals to be sacred, they would stone us. So you can clearly see that every shepherd was an abomination to the Egyptians because they killed and ate these animals that the Egyptians considered to be sacred. Viewers, this brings us to the end of this presentation on Genesis 46. In the next presentation, we will see Joseph's advocacy on behalf of his father's house, as he would make a case to Pharaoh so that his family could reside in the land of Goshen. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and stay tuned to the next presentation as we are coming to a close in this series on the book of Genesis. We have 4 more presentations to go. Thanks for listening again, and have yourselves a great day.